What's up out there, YouTube? This is James coming back at you with another informative video. I hope all is well with you guys out there on this beautiful warm Tuesday. All's good over here. I come across this situation that took place over the weekend at a New Falls Brothers funeral home, okay, where we had Darthanian Nichols that was officiating a funeral service when he instructed the guests to clear the floor, okay? All of a sudden, you had one of the patrons of the family got mad and pulled a AR-15 out on this man right here. And he was, the pastor that was, doing the funeral to the man's brother that I guess he lost some kind of way. Now, I don't understand why would the brother get mad, because the pastor would ask people to clear the floor and take their seats. I guess after the viewing or whatever, See, this is one of those situations where we as a people, even when we do have something, you got those among us that want to desecrate it. This is a service right here, a funeral service. You know what I mean? This ain't had nothing to do with grieving right here. This has something to do with trying to basically show control and what have you. This dude, the brother of the deceased, got mad and pulled a AR-15 just because Pastor Nichols asked the people to clear the floor. So without further ado, I want us to check out this video and then we'll get back to the commentary.
One yelled out that he had an AR-15 and he cocked it, and people started running.
Fear and chaos at new McFall Brothers Funeral Home on Dexter Avenue in Detroit.
I ran to the side door to call 911.
Pastor Darthanian Nichols was on site to officiate the funeral service of a teen who he says was a victim of gun violence. Before the chaotic moments began, he had requested people to take their seats. That's when he says one man became angry.
He was yelling and cussing, and then he pulled a gun out. And when he pulled the gun out, he's like, "You're not going to make me move."
The frantic moments were caught on security cam video.
Like, people started screaming, running. I began to pray in the microphone because I'm a pastor.
But the pastor says he soon saw the gun. And he does point it at you?
And I can describe what the gun looks like.
What was that feeling like?
Do you ever wonder if all those weird ingredients and all those...
Y'all excuse that.
It was not necessarily fear, but more of this is what our job comes to. One of the things in de-escalation is they want you to grab the attention of the person. And so I knew, I need to try to get his attention.
I mean, this pastor is, the calm he kept and the way he handled himself, he's a hero.
Detroit police didn't have far to travel when they got the 911 calls.
So we've been partnering with our CVI groups, engaging our community, trying to identify some of these funerals that are going to be high at risk.
Police say several people were arrested.
There are 5 total arrests. But in conjunction with the incident where the gentleman pulled out the firearm, there's 1 person arrested, being looked at as a person of interest for that.
We have to become better people.
Right. Back out here live, the person with the gun, police tell us he is in custody, and sources tell us that that person actually is the brother of the person who was laid to rest. Now, I was asking police during that press conference, what kind of charges could this person face? And I want you to pay close attention. Now, officers tell me that if the suspect is a felon, every person inside that funeral home comes with a 2-year felony firearm charge, which basically in plain English means that he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Back to you, Rube.
Now let's say, for example, it was 20 people in that funeral home, okay? And he gets however many years, 20 years for those 20 people. Yeah, he can be in that funeral home the rest of his life. I mean, not funeral home, but in prison the rest of his life. And if you want to act like that, he should be. He needs to be made an example of. When you go to a funeral, you are there to mourn the loss of a beloved family member or a friend. Not to have to worry about if you're going to have to, fear for your life because some asshole want to just come out and make the funeral all about them all of a sudden. You know, it said that this man right here, you know, even threatened the pastor. You know, when the pastor started to pray, you know, for him and want to pray with him. And this dude told the pastors, he said, I don't believe in the God that you serve. That was straight demonic, okay, on so many levels. Check it out.
To a funeral that turned into chaos after a man pulled a gun and pointed it at the pastor leading the service.
It happened over the weekend at New McFall Brothers Funeral Home on Detroit's west side.
7 News Detroit obtained surveillance video showing the moment that the gun was pulled and people began to run.
And tonight, 7 News Detroit reporter Randy Wembley is raising the voice of that pastor about what was running through his mind as he stared down the barrel of that gun and how he tried to de-escalate the scary situation.
Surveillance video shows the chaos at a funeral when a man pulled out a gun and pointed it at the pastor officiating the service.
In my mind, I braced myself for the worst case scenario, which would be to be shot.
It happened Saturday at New McFall Brothers Funeral Home on Detroit's west side. Pastor Darthanian Nichols says it all started when he asked the crowd gathering around the casket to take their seats to prevent a fire hazard, and the man in question refused and drew a gun.
Even as he pointed the gun, I don't believe he was trying to point it. I think it was more so was his emotions, and he was talking with the gun in his hand.
Nichols says his priority was de-escalation, knowing the man was mourning his younger brother.
I say, hey, I know you're feeling a lot. And he looks down at me, uses some swear words, and tells me, I don't believe in the God that you believe in, and I will put hands on you. I said, okay. And I walked away.
The man was arrested near the funeral home shortly after. DPD says it's working to prevent similar incidents.
We've been partnering with our CVI groups, engaging our community, trying to identify some of these funerals that are going to be high at risk or even ones at moderate risk.
So it happened right over around the podium right there.
Michael Kemp, president of New McFall Brothers Funeral Home, says he was at the front desk when that gun came out.
Were people running out of
They
the
were
room?
running everywhere. There were people running from the back of the funeral home.
Kemp says the service was moved to Woodlawn Cemetery after the incident. Police say 4 others were taken into custody soon after. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
The deceased sister is a member of my church. I buried the grandmother, I buried the grandfather. I know that pressing charges will probably mean I lose a member. I know not pressing charges says to people that this is okay.
And Nichols' message for the man, he says, pulled out that gun.
There are people that care, even though you may not believe it. And it is not in my heart to see anything happen to you. But it is really my heart's desire that you get help, whatever help that looks like.
On the city's west side, I'm Randy Wembley, 7 News Detroit.
I would tell the pastor, make sure you press charges, make an example out of this dumbass. You know what I'm saying? Because there's just no excuse for him to just jump up and pull a gun at his brother's funeral. Just because you said for people to take their seats. Basically what it all boils down to. You see what I'm saying? There's been a lot of situations taking place at funerals now. I saw a situation that took place probably about last month sometime. I just never covered the story. Where I guess a funeral conductor pulled a gun on one of the family members because they was trying to attack him. I mean, it's just crazy. And this was a so-called black funeral. These are the examples that are made now when you go to funerals, so-called black funerals. You know, a lot of these people highly emotional, and really their rage ain't got nothing to do with the loss of a relative or nothing like that. They just there to try to make that funeral all about them. So this is why I say that this pastor should press charges regardless of losing a member or two of this man's family. You know, it don't make any difference. Because if they feel like that, you don't need them in your church anyway. You really don't. You see what I mean? This kind of element, no. You see? And I kind of, as I was listening to the pastor, it still was like he was giving this dumbass a way out. You know what I mean? For what he was doing, talking about, he didn't really feel like he would have used this gun. But I think he would have. I really do. Talking about he don't serve or believe in the God that this man right here does. That was straight demonic. That told you right there what this guy was all about and what kind of time he was on, which was demon time all the way. And that's what it all boils down to. You see? So, fair warning to all of you people out there. You go to funerals, make sure that you be strapped. And I'll go even as further to say that a lot of funeral, homes and churches invest in armed security. So when you get one of these dumbasses want to get up and try to make the funeral all about him pulling guns and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Y'all be ready to handle him however way you got to. Because people ain't coming to funerals to have to worry about getting their life taken. That's just downright stupid. And then they always talk about in the so-called black community why we can't have nothing. Well, this is the reason why. A bunch of dumbasses interwoven in our community that think it's all about them. That's the reason why. Okay? That's all I got on this story, people. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this situation that took place last weekend in Detroit at this funeral home. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on it in the comment section. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. People, please remember to live your life as though we're being watched, simply because we are. This is James, and I'm out. Peace.